Chapter 28. Tom enters number 2. That night Tom and Huck were ready for the adventure. They hung around the neighborhood of the tavern until about 9 o'clock, one watching the alley at the distance and the other the tavern door. But the night didn't promise to be dark enough, so Tom went home. Huck watched for a while, until midnight, and then he retired to bed in an old empty barrel. Tuesday the boys had the same ill luck. Wednesday was the same, but Thursday's night promised to be dark, black night. Tom slipped out of Aunt Polly's old tin lantern and a large cloth to hide the light. He hid the lantern in Huck's barrel, and watch began. An hour after midnight, the tavern closed up, and the lights were out. No Spaniard had been seen. Nobody had entered or left the alley. Everything was right. The night was black and quiet, and only the sound of the distant thunder could be heard. Tom got out his lantern, lit it in the barrel, and covered the light with the cloth. The two adventurers crept in the darkness towards the tavern. Then Huck stood watch, while Tom felt his way into the alley. Huck waited. Time passed slowly, and Huck began to wish he could go as a flash from the lantern to tell him that Tom was still alive. It seemed hours since Tom had disappeared, and Huck found himself drawing closer and closer to the alley in hopes he could hear or see something. Suddenly there was a flash of light, and Tom came tearing by him. "Run!" yelled Tom. "Run for your life!" And Huck started making 30 or 40 miles an hour at the very first word. The boys never stopped running until they reached the shed of the deserted butcher house at the lower end of the village. Just as they got within the shelter, the storm burst and the rain poured down. And as soon as Tom could catch his breath, he said, "Huck, it was awful. I tried 2 of the keys, just as soft as I could, but they made so much noise I could hardly make my breath. I was so scared. They wouldn't turn in the lock, either of them, but without noticing what I was doing, I turned the knob, and open came the door. It wasn't even locked. I hopped in and took the cover off the light, and great Caesar's ghost! What did you see, Tom?" "Huck, I almost stepped on Injun Joe's hand." "No!" "Yes, he was lying there asleep on the floor with that old patch on his eye and his arms spread out. Lordy, what did you do? Did you wake him up?" "No, never budged. Drunk, I guess. I just grabbed the lantern and started. Say, Tom, did you see the box?" "Huck, I didn't wait to look around. I didn't see the box. I didn't see the cross. I didn't see anything but a bottle and a tin cup on the floor by Injun Joe. Yes, and I saw 2 barrels and a lot more whiskey bottles in the room. The tavern keeps the whiskey in that room. Who'd have thought of such a thing? But say, Tom, how a mighty good time to get that box if Injun Joe was drunk." "It is that. You go try it." Huck shuddered. "Well, no, I guess not." "And I guess not, Huck. Only 1 bottle alongside Injun Joe isn't enough. If there were 3 or 4, he'd be drunk enough, and I'll do it." Then a long pause to think things over. Then Tom said, "Look here, Huck, let's not try any more till we know Injun Joe is not in there. It's too risky. Now, if we watch every night, we'll be dead sure to see him come and go, and sometime or other, and then we'll snatch that box up like lightning, quicker than lightning." "Well, I'm agreed. I'll watch the whole night long. I'll do it every night, too, if you'll do the other part of the job." "All right, I will. All you got to do is to trot over and meow. If I'm asleep, just throw some gravel at the window. That'll wake me up." "Agreed. Now, Huck, the storm's over. I'll go home. It'll be daylight soon, in a couple of hours, but go back and watch that as long as you can. Will you?" "I said I would, Tom, and I will. I'll haunt that tavern every night for a year. I'll sleep all day, and I'll stand watch all night." "That's fine. Now, where are you going to sleep?" "In bed in Roger's hay barn. He lets me." "Well, if I don't watch in the daytime, I'll let you go to sleep. Any time you want to see something up in the night, just skip around and meow, and I'll be out."